Welcome, everybody. I am so glad to be here today with our guest, Julie Roberts. Welcome to Next Step Career Corner, the podcast where we dive into real conversations about leadership, career growth, and navigating the ever changing world of work. I'm your host, Stephanie Renk, career coach, resume writer, and advocate for women leaders. Each episode, I sit down with inspiring professionals to share actionable insights, honest stories, and practical advice to help you lead your career with confidence, clarity, and purpose. Whether you're navigating your next step or growing in your leadership, this podcast is here to support your journey. Today's guest is Julie Roberts, Vice President of Engineering and Staging Integration Services at Presidio. Julie brings over 2 decades of experience leading technical teams, driving complex projects, and delivering outstanding client outcomes. Beyond her impressive career, she's a passionate mentor for women in technology and an advocate for leadership development. Julie also balances her professional role with being a mom to school-age kids, caring for aging parents, and staying active in her community. In this episode, we dive into Julie's leadership journey, how she integrates career and caregiving, and the advice she gives women looking to grow their leadership impact. Thank you for joining us today, Julie.
It is my pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Oh, it's great. So I immediately have a question. Walk
Sure.
us through your journey. Tell us how you went from a network engineer to VP of engineering.
Yes. So that was back in 1999 that I started at Presidio. So that 20 years has been 20 plus years has just been with Presidio alone. So that, yeah. So starting out as a network engineer, I was kind of in the trenches, solving problems for clients, delivering solutions. It was a great year to start because it was, the year of 2000 and everybody thought the networks were going to crash. So we had a lot of activity that year, as you can imagine. And then basically kind of zigzagged my way through some technical project management and ended up with some leadership responsibilities on the project management side and on the engineering side. So, as you know, most paths to where you get to is not a straight path. Mine was not, and it had a lot of zigzagging back and forth. But each step of that way has kind of led me to my current path, which is here as a VP of engineering at Presidio, which I absolutely love driving the teams and creating solutions for our clients and delivering very meaningful outcomes. What you probably don't realize is that a lot of you and your audience are probably consumers of Presidio, even though you don't know our name. Our engineers work nationally and globally with large customers, delivering things from healthcare to the county services that you provide to travel. So we are probably impacting your life and you don't even know it.
Oh, that's amazing. And I love what you said about a straight line. I don't think it's rare to find someone with a career path that is one step after another, super clear. Usually we're zigzagging and get this experience over here and come over here and learn about this. And then when we finally look back, we're like, oh, there's the thread. There's the
Yes.
thread in our background. Oh, I love that. So, what was the turning point in your career when you realized you were stepping into leadership and not management?
Yeah. So, early on, it was more of an individual contributor role to where I was solving problems, engineering, and doing project management work. And then as I started developing more project teams, I realized I was shifting from solving those problems for clients myself to actually developing and enabling the team members to do that. So that leadership shift happened when I realized it was, more important for me to scale people to go solve problems and to do what we need to do to deliver those solutions for our clients versus for me to do it.
Right. That is a huge change. And tell me a little bit, what do you most love about Presidio today in your role?
Oh my gosh, the people of Presidio is amazing. I was fortunate enough to stand on stage last year in an Inspire segment to brag on the people of Presidio. That is what keeps me here for sure. I think though that what I love is the fact that I get to add value. I get to add value to people and I get to influence. So it's not just about delivering the solutions for the clients, but it's how we show up. And I think that's probably the thing that I love the most. And if every day I'm adding value to the team, then I know I'm winning.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, sure. So we do that a lot through mentorship programs, career development things. A lot of times you wait for that like that once a quarter or that by year annual thing of performance management and talking to people then. Well, I try to incorporate that with my teams and with my leaders to do that more often. So we're constantly having like in the moment, what could we learn about that type stuff? We're constantly putting things into place like we do a couple of masterminds recently that we did based on the book from John Maxwell called 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth that we did with our Wonder Group. Our Wonder Group is the Women in Technology group. It's our employee resource group that I'm executive sponsor for. And we had to open it up to 2 sessions because we had so many women that wanted to join it. We didn't have enough for 1 session. So we opened up a second one. And for 8 weeks, we talked about that book and diving into deep insight of how each person could take something out of there to grow intentionally. So it's about that, always making sure that you're not stagnant and you're continuing to grow, whether it's learning a technical skill set, whether it's growing in, from a what can I do and stretching yourself perspective to how do we show up differently. Even these days, obviously, we're incorporating more AI into our environment. So people are learning more skills on that. So it's constantly being able to look at where we are and where we want to go, and then how do we get there?
Oh, I love that. And you incorporate that in your daily leadership with your team.
Yes, I
That
do.
is amazing. I love that. So you've led technical and program teams across multiple regions. So what's your approach to building a high performing team?
Well, first off, we all have to be on the same page. So it's got to be clarity, right? Clarity and communication. That's where it starts. Because if we're not on the same page, we're not going to deliver the same outcomes. So we start there. And it's really about building trust with the team members. I have team members that span across the United States, and I have team members that expand into India as well. So I had the most fortunate experience a year ago to go and visit my team in India, which was amazing. I learned lots of things about the culture, and I also learned that they have some really awesome food. So they treated me like a queen, actually. But it was that time spent with the team and bringing the teams together, right, to understand culture, to understand, how we work better together, and keeping that cadence, right. You always talk about it, communication, 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 and you never get enough. If I ever hear anyone complain about too much communication, that will probably be like, a very monumental day of that, because you just don't ever hear that. So it's all about making sure that we're on the same page, that we're providing the resources for people to be able to succeed, right? There are times obstacles are going to happen, challenges are going to happen. So it's being able to help encourage the team to have a safe space to talk about some diverse ideas, and that maybe a proven way we've always done it may not be the best way to do it this time. And how do we incorporate something new into our, to our structured proven methods, right? Because we have an ever changing landscape these days between the solutions, technology changes fast, our client demands change, deadlines change. We all show up, we all have families, so you never know what you're dealing with there too. So we kind of always just have to just keep talking about feedback loops of what we're doing. Is it working? Is it not working? What do we keep? What do we change? What do we improve?
Yeah, so how do you go about balancing these technical priorities with leadership responsibilities like mentorship and retention and talent development? Because you're right, challenges happen and you might have a 30-minute one-on-one with someone. So how do you balance the technical issues while also giving space to be a mentor and a guide to your team?
Well, clearly we have to have the technical skill sets to be able to do what we need to do, right? So that's important. But we don't treat those leadership development or the soft skills development as side tasks. We try to
Mm,
incorporate that alongside with the importance of the technical, so it's one and the same, right? So we
I love
don't
that.
we don't just say, we're only going to focus on technical and this is all we have to be. Because frankly, we could be the best technical team, but that doesn't mean that you're going to have repeat customers. It doesn't mean you're going to have a successful project. And even if you meet all the metrics, whether it's on time, on budget, in scope, you can knock all that out of the ballpark and it could be painful, which means
Mhm.
it's not success, right? So we have to make sure that we are incorporating that at the same time, because that's super important. And you just, I think the biggest, like we went back to it earlier, the soft skills of communication, right? As a whole, we don't spend enough in teaching people how to communicate, how I communicate, how you communicate. Well, you could be saying something in the way that you think I should be hearing you, but I'm not, right? So how do we learn to do that? And you and I have talked about it before, and I'm a big proponent of DISC. So I do incorporate a lot of DISC into the organization, trying to get that more into Presidio as a whole. But in my team, we talk about that. Okay, is that person someone who needs brief notes to get it, or is this person needs facts and evidence? Who are you talking to? Because if you're talking to someone who needs facts and evidence and you're telling them a fluffy story, you're not going to connect. That relationship's not going to be there. So it's super important to make sure that people understand that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, and then random question for you. So you talk a lot about communication and clarity. How do you, so in the hiring process during an
Mhm.
interview, what makes someone stand out for you when clarity and communication and those things are super important, as well as their technical abilities? So how does someone stand out in an interview when you're looking for all of those things?
Yeah. So first thing is whatever's on your resume, you better be able to answer the questions around it, right? That's number one, right? Because if you put something on your resume and then you put, like a highly technical advanced skill set or something, we ask you about it, and then you're like, well, I kind of saw that one time, not going to cut it, right? So you better know whatever's in there. Be prepared to answer those questions first, right? So that would be number one. But the number two thing is more about the way they carry themselves and the ownership of what they do, right? And it's self awareness. That's what matters to me a lot, because some of the technical skills we can absolutely teach, right? But whether there's self awareness or not, and that ownership of this is what I want to do, or this is how I own it, or this is how I know this about myself. One of the big questions I asked people, and it throws them every time I ask the question, is what is the biggest misconception someone has about you?
That's a great question.
Yeah. And they think, I've never been asked that question before. And you can, there's never been a person who's like, oh, yeah, someone's asked me that question before, and blah, 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 there it is. No, it's usually a pause. You can kind of see the look on their face, right? And then you can then figure out who is very self aware of who they are. So
That's very true.
that is a go-to question that I have. People usually ask, well, what are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? But I usually hit that misconception, and it really hones in. Do they know? Do they know how they think they are and how people perceive them? And what do they do about that? And some people, they're like, I don't know. And I don't know that I can tell you in this time frame. And if there's someone that we do consider to hire still, we'll circle back to that, right? Because I think that's truly, truly important. So when you're interviewing, you only have a very short period of time, right, to understand uh, what that person's going to bring to the table and how they're going to fit in with the team and what value they're going to add. So it's highly critical that we kind of structure our questions to kind of pull that out, for sure. So I think the other piece of it, I teach a class to high schoolers at times, and it's called Your Brand, Your Name, Your Fame, Your Brand Rocks, right? And the other thing that I tell everyone is when we have your resume and we're looking at it, we're also searching on social media to figure out what that looks like. So, are you a brand that's going to represent me, my team, our values, our principles, Presidio's values, Presidio's principles? If yes, great. But if not, you're probably not even going to get the face-to-face interview with us.
Right. That's very important. Fit. It's all about fit, right? Are you going to fit in with the team? Perfect.
Exactly. And our clients, right? Our clients are looking for particular type of people. So we could have, that's the other piece of it, making sure that they can relate, because every time we get a new client, it's an interview process all over again for our team. So our project
Yeah.
managers and our engineers, they don't just interview with us. They interview with every single client that they come in contact with.
Yeah. That's super in depth too. But you have to, because they're the face of Presidio and you want the client to be happy. So you got to make sure that
Exactly.
relationship is just as strong. I love
Exactly.
that.
100%.
Okay. So women in technology. You've always been a strong
Yeah.
advocate for women in tech. So, what are the biggest barriers you've seen? How do women overcome the tech barriers that are happening out there?
Yes. So there's a couple of things, right? One, I think imposter syndrome, clearly
Mm-hmm.
real, right? It was real. It's real for me. It's still real for me every day, right? I show up a lot of times and I have to be reminded that I deserve this seat at the table. It's earned, it's deserved, and I have a voice and I need to use it. So I think imposter syndrome is one. The other thing that I have learned through my career is don't let someone hit the easy button for you. So it's not feeling like you're not ready to do something and that somebody else already can do that better. So you're not even going to try, right? That is something I struggled with earlier in my career. And I have a whole presentation that I do for either women panels that I join, or, we talked about Wonder earlier, which is the women's employee resource group at Presidio, that we have, I've done that a couple different times there, because it's so easy to think, oh, I'm not ready, or I didn't check all the boxes, or this person's just better and they're just going to give it to that person. When we do that and when we allow someone to hit the easy button for us and we don't even go for it, we don't know what other opportunities we may be missing out on. Maybe you don't get that. But for me, the biggest the biggest growth moments that I have had through my career have been through the promotions I didn't get, right? Those were the things that I grew the most. Those were the things where I had to do some reflection. I had to do more planning. I had to get more sponsorship. I took action, but it was building those steps to the path that has led me to the position that I've been in for the past, I'm working on my 5th year in this particular role. So, but without those things, I don't know that I would have made it, or at least I wouldn't be the people leader, right, that I am today without having to go through some of that stuff. So I think when we talk about imposter syndrome, not letting people hit the easy button for you, um, they're real.
So, women don't hold back. Try, even if you're
That's
going to fail.
100%.
Right? Even if you're going to
Yeah.
fail, you're going to learn. And I have been there. For PAR, the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches, we this past year we implemented a new learning management system, and yeah, I messed up a lot, but I learned, and every mistake I learned from that mistake, and I didn't make that mistake again. And the same with the team, right? We all learn from that. So yeah, show
Yes.
up, do it. Don't let imposter syndrome stop you.
Nope.
Try, learn, go take a course, ask for help. But I love that because it's not, people aren't out to get you. You have to
Hmm.
be proactive. You have to go after it. Be
100%.
motivated.
And I would think the other thing that I would add to that is, sometimes our passions, right, are seen as, maybe a weakness at why we didn't get something because it didn't fit for that particular job. And what I would say to that is, don't also let that stop you from having that passion, right? A passion overused can become a weakness, right? But that doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean your passion is wrong, right? So when you talk about it, the first job that I didn't get from a promotional perspective, that was what was said to me. Look, you scared some of the stuff that you would want to do probably scares the hell out of us. And we're too scared to do that right now, right? They wanted a little bit more status quo, and that's okay, right? But what that taught me was I needed to expand my networking. I needed to expand my sponsorship. I needed to let other people understand what that looked like. I also needed to help them to understand that change isn't, when we keep doing the same thing, we can expect the same results. But until we do some things differently, that's when other outcomes can happen, right? And have that, remember that working from here to get to here, we can't
Yeah.
do it doing the same thing all the time. We have to evolve. We have to grow, right? So don't be scared that, you may be told one day that your passion is the weakness. No, no, reflect on that. And if it's not, go forward with that.
Okay, so that does lead me into the male dominated field. I mean, tech is known for having a lot of guys in the workforce. So, is there any advice for women like that? Because I just heard be active, be proactive, go after what you want. are there any barriers or things that women should be aware of when they're mostly working with men in that mindset?
So my strategy um, is to make sure I partner with my male peers, right? So I am working to build relationships with them. I'm going to tell you a funny story. Happened last year, actually, but when most of my immediate peers are male, and when I'm sitting at the table with them, sometimes I feel like I'm the pushback, right? That I am providing a different kind of viewpoint a lot. And I went to one of them and asked, "Look, am I just pushing back on you guys? I mean, am I really just the pain in the ass, right, at the table
Yeah.
because I'm bringing this stuff up?" And he says, "Julie, thank God you're sitting here at this table because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't think about these things." So sometimes it may seem like they don't want to hear or they don't know, right? But when it's said and done, you have some of those conversations with people, right? And that's that transparency and that's that relationship building and that trust. You can go back and get some of that honest feedback. And that particular moment was, we need to hear from you on that because we don't think about it like that sometimes. And because you bring a different perspective, it allows us. And he said this to me. He says, "Do you know how many times you have stopped us from doing some things that could have had an adverse impact on people because you did stop us?" Right? So it is scary. I know it's scary. I sit at that table at times. However, right? You're there for a reason. You have perspective. And when you think about, well, what could happen? If I don't speak up, and I kind of write the script out, right, in my head. If I don't speak up, this could happen. Is that what the team needs? Is that what our client needs? Is that what, I personally need? Or if I write that script out and if I do speak up, could it, provide guidance here or change the outcome here? Or not even just change it. Maybe it empowers it. Maybe it empowers it more. Maybe it quickens a timeline, right? Not necessarily to stop something. Maybe it's, yes, we need to do that and we need to do it urgently. So let's get that done, right? Maybe it puts more priority on it. So sometimes it's not always the negative impact of it. Maybe it's like, yes, that is a great idea, guys, and we should do that right now, right? So sometimes it's to give them that push to get some stuff done. So it's difficult. There's no question about it. But I will tell you that, as women and women leaders, obviously we also need to kind of stick together a bit and networking and communicating and continuing to build, right? That also helps. But I encourage the Wonder Group, right? It's not just about the women in the group too. It's also about the men who are allies to help, promote the women as well. So we love our allies.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I love it. So, women, go for it. Take action. That's what I'm hearing. Take action.
Absolutely.
I absolutely love that. Okay, so on a personal note, you're balancing a lot. You're working, you're a
Yes.
mom, and
Yes.
you're taking care of your parents. So, how do you navigate all of this without losing who you are? Because you're wearing a ton of different hats.
I do. Well, first off, I have a tremendous amount of family support system. My wife is amazing. Her name is Becky, and we always joke that she is like the string to my balloon. So she keeps me grounded. Um, what you also didn't mention there is I have two teenagers right now. So I have a
Teens, yeah.
senior and a sophomore this year. So we are living the teenage years at the same time that we are caring for my elderly parents. My wife lost her mother in August, and that was kind of tough because we'd had gone through this with her mom in the last couple of years. And now with my parents, one of the things that we're trying to do is, you know, things that we've never done before, like, work with my siblings on a schedule to make sure that one of us is in town at all times, right? Something we didn't have to worry about a few years ago, right? Now we have to worry about that. So the biggest thing for me to balance it is, first off, give myself grace because I can't do it all. Cannot do it all. So you have to lean in, you have to get support. I have that with, Becky and the family structure with my siblings that I have. And I have a great friendship. My inner circle of friends are amazing. And I can call any of them up at any time and say, hey, look, I need some help. The other thing is I have learned as a leader, I needed to shift a bit And probably the book for John Maxwell called Leader Shift helped me with this the most in the last probably about 9 months of my life. And it's really about looking at, for me as a leader, am I a people pleaser leader or am I a people challenger leader? And I
Mm.
realized that I was doing a lot of people pleasing. I was telling people what they needed to hear. I was kind of handling a little bit of things that I probably shouldn't have been involved with. And I needed to let them do it because that's how they were going to grow. So
Mhm.
I've really shifted that a lot. And since specifically since my parents have needed a little bit more care. One thing, no one really talks about what is going to happen when you have to take care of your elderly parents. And frankly, with the healthcare system and the way it is, and these doctors don't talk to these doctors, there's a lot of patient advocacy that you have to do on your own, right? To make sure that all the lines are drawn between the doctors and people know what needs to happen. And also at that age, we don't really trust our parents to go to the doctor by themselves anymore. So we have to be there to hear what's being said. Because one, they're not going to share everything with you. And two, I don't think that they always understand it, right? They don't understand what's being asked of them or what they need to do. So we have to kind of help with that a bit more these days. So I give myself some grace. Calendar blocking is my friend. I am really looking about, is this something someone else can do? Is this something that I have to do? And if I'm trying to take care of what matters the most in the moment. So it is not, I don't call it a balance. I've never used the word work life balance. I've always used the words work life integration anytime I've ever talked about it, because to be honest with you, it's not ever going to be a 50-50 balance, right? There are
Right.
things that, I joke with my kids these days because every time they get in the car, if I'm picking them up from school, they know not to start talking immediately when they open the door because I could be on a conference call. So my kids know that, right? And now, of course, I do shift some time to where when they get home, I get to spend a little bit of, hey, how are you? How's your day? Because that's super important too. But it is an awareness, and it's something that they have been just working remote for as many years as I've worked remote. They kind of know, right? It's ingrained in our family. So that whole work life balance, for me, it's always integration.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. I think work-life balance just got overused so much, and it really is about integration because now we're looking for flexibility. I need to leave for a doctor's appointment, whether it's mine or my son's or my parents. I mean, we need that flexibility. So we walk away in the middle of the day, but that might mean we're answering email a little bit later, right? So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Listen, I joke, and anyone who knows me will tell you I plan for spontaneity because I'm a plant, right? So I am not a person to go and do things spontaneously. I have incorporated more spontaneity in my life the last probably 2 months. And it has been as liberating freedom. I'm like, what is going on here? So you got to have to take advantage of that, because the most important thing is, with all the hats that we wear, whether it's mom, whether it's, working at Presidio, or all the things that I do outside too, because my kids are very active. Eli is involved in paintball with Team USA. Avery does English horseback riding for some horse competitions, and she also is in the marching band. So it is not uncommon for us to be needed in more than one place, right? And when we do that, thank God for FaceTime, so I can watch a horse show at the same time I'm standing next to the paintball field, right? And we're dividing and conquering that. But the important part about all those roles and all the things that we do as women, we have to have self-care. We have to take care of ourselves. And I am learning more and more. One of the directors who's worked for me for years now, he recently said to me, he goes, I've really noticed that you have been doing some things differently lately, Julie, with your self-care. And I am so thrilled that you are doing that, because it's a big difference in how I'm showing up. And that
Yeah.
was a huge compliment to kind of confirm for me that what I am doing, what I'm trying to do, is not just when I do that, that I'm also, they are able to see that, right? And it's providing another impact, because I'm not nearly as stressed out as I was. My mental health is great right now, because I'm taking care of it.
Yeah, self-care is huge, and it was this past year for myself that it became more and more apparent that I needed to take care of myself, and having time to do nothing was so hard for me to implement into my life. But now, especially Sunday afternoons, I don't plan family events, except my husband and my son. I'll hang out with them, but
Right.
anything bigger than that, no. And I don't hang out with friends because that afternoon is precious time. And a lot of times I'm sitting on the couch reading a book while golf is on TV.
Yes.
It's just time to relax and not use your brain. Like we do not
Yes.
need to be running 24/7.
No, no. And one thing that you just said reminded me, I've gotten so much better as I've grown, and, whether it's called wisdom or experience or whatever you want to call it this age, right? It's setting up those boundaries, right? Your non-negotiables. What are those, right? And just really being present when you can be present. And that's one thing that I've just really tried to work on is, you know what? Okay, for this period of time, when we take one particular vacation, which is cruising, because that's when my wife literally hands her hand out like this right before we take off. And what this means, Julie, put your phone in my hand because I'm gonna lock it up in the safe for the next 3 days. And she won't even let me
Yep.
get to it. Right.
Yep.
So that, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because that has helped me be able to literally have like a tech free weekend. Right. Which in the tech world, I don't get a lot of tech free anything. Right. So that really helps me to be able to do that. And it's super, super important. So set those boundaries up where you need to set them up because that's okay. It is okay.
It's okay. Time block, use your calendar to your benefit.
Yes.
It doesn't
Yes.
have to be the worst thing in the world.
No, no,
Really doesn't.
not at all.
All right. So what I heard today is women take action. Don't let imposter syndrome get you down.
Oh,
Be proactive,
yes.
communicate, partner with your allies and your colleagues, help each other, and time block. Use your calendar. That's what I heard today.
Absolutely. Yes.
I love that. Well, Julie, thank you so much for being here today. This was so great. I am sure we'll have more conversations in the future.
I look
Any
forward to
last
that.
bit of advice for our listeners?
No, just I think you summed it all up, frankly, right? Um, be authentic, be yourself. It's so much easier when you're your authentic self. It's exhausting when you're not. So don't even try because then you have to have more self care when you do that. So just be your authentic self and go out there and get them.
And go do it.
You got it.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye bye.